Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns. What's up everyone, my name is the Ripper Danny B and welcome to my TLC review show. And you know what, it wasn't a bad show, man. I've been looking forward to doing this one since I watched the show because I left that thing feeling amazing. I mean, we're all talking about the ending, we're all talking about Roman Reigns, but we've got a whole show to review first, and I'm going to get straight on with it. I'm going to kick off tonight with the pre-show match. Now, let's precede this one a little bit. Network had outages during that match. It was spread around worldwide. We had it particularly bad here in England, so I didn't actually get to watch most of this match live. I know it came back on just before the Becky and Sasha match started, but I had found myself out of entertainment for that time. I wasn't going to sit around staring at a blank screen, so I went back and watched it later, and it turns out it was a very, very good match. Problem I have with that match was Sasha is the hometown girl. She's billed from Boston, and Becky is lovable. Everybody loves Becky Lynch, and they were on the pre-show. Ryback and Rusev were on the main show. Didn't make a lot of sense, but the match they had was pretty good, and in fact it ended up overshadowing, to say I watched it later, ended up overshadowing the Divas Championship match we had on the actual show. Great opening contest. Sasha got the win, which obviously Sasha Banks needs. She needs to start building momentum. As I said in my prediction show, I expect Sasha Banks to be doing good things within a few months. So this is a good springboard for her. The whole Team Bad stuff is that Christmas. No, don't ever let them sing ever again. How can Naomi not have a singing voice? She sings her own theme song. I guess auto-tune. Still better than Cameron's. So yeah, that was the pre-show. It was a good start. I didn't see much else of the pre-show because of the outages, and I didn't really want to go back and watch most of it anyway, because it's usually just Corey Graves and Booker T rambling on about nonsense I want to slap them up for. So we'll move on to the main show. So the show kicked off, and I've got to say before I even get into the show review itself, I was not right in like any of my predictions. So for somebody that can usually see booking coming a mile off, I didn't get a single one of these predictions right. I got most of the match results right, but I did not get the reasons or the methods or anything else behind it. So that said, we go straight in to the crowd pleaser, the triple threat tag team ladder match, the Usos versus the Luchas versus the New Day. And we start with the New Day running down Boston, bigging up themselves, doing a lot of talking. I like New Day, but they've got to be careful of their overexposure at this point. They're doing this every single week now. It's almost starting to feel like an authority thing. Got to be careful. Don't overexpose the New Day. They're the best thing you have right now. Don't let them crash down. As for the match itself, Xavier Woods sat on commentary, which I actually thought was a nice touch, because it's a very kind of, we're the heel team, but we're going to act like the good guys team. It's the anti-heel. It's phenomenal. He sat on commentary for most of the match simply to say that New Day do not need all three men in a match to beat two other teams of two. Very cool. Of course he got involved throughout the match, especially at the end. He threw the trombone at Kalisto. The spots in this one were insane, of course. The Usos pulled off a couple of insane spots. Sin Cara had a couple of good ones to himself as well. Kalisto got the spot of what was probably the entire night in the very first match with the Salidas del Sol off the top through the ladder. Crushing Jay. If you go back and watch it, Kalisto actually took it really well. He landed on his feet, but it could have gone so wrong. Beautiful spot. Got the crowd pumping. This is awesome. This is awesome. And it needed it, because if you were watching in the beginning, on the hard cam view while New Day were talking, the entire crowd looked bored out of their minds. It's like, come on, people. This is why we don't listen to you, because you're sitting there on your phones with your head in your hands. New Day are talking. They're trying to get the crowd pumped, man. That was the whole point of New Day coming out first, was to set the tone for the rest of the night. When all was said and done, Xavier provided the distraction. Kalisto got taken out by Kofi in some way. We didn't really see it on camera. Kofi gets up, he grabs both titles, New Day for the win. Was it a great ladder match? Yeah. Was it stacked up to what I said it could have been? No. Did I really expect it to be? No, not really. But they had a hell of an opening match, and it did set the tone for the rest of the night. The problem is, the rest of the night didn't really follow up. So next we kicked off with Ryback and Rusev going one-on-one in a match that nobody really gave a monkey's about. The build was stupid. The push for these two right now is stupid. And Ryback would probably go like that quite a few times. It wasn't a very good match, but both of them were booked to look strong. I'll give them that much. Rusev did do the whole heelish I'm walking away thing. Lana got involved, played possum. And then Rusev locked in the accolade for the win. That's pretty much the only notable points throughout that match. Ryback didn't tap, he passed out, which is a design to make him still look like a monster. He didn't quit, he didn't give up. But I don't really know where these two are going to go from here. Hopefully Rusev will involve himself a little more in the League of Nations and get more involved into that mix, maybe take on Dean Ambrose. But for Ryback, I don't really know where he goes from here. He needs to just pick on a kind of a small level heel, just to build himself back up. You know, maybe a decent feud with a low card heel to get himself back into place. But for now, Ryback is floundering. It's not any fault of his own, but the match was what it was. It got Rusev over, done and dusted. Next we had the chairs match for the United States Championship, and as I said, this one was going to be gimmicky, and it was. We started off the match by officially retiring the Mex America angle. Thank God for that. The match got kicked off with wacky smacky smacky cherry to the face. Swagger dropped his chair once he disarmed Del Rio, which was dumb, quite frankly. A couple of good spots throughout the match. Del Rio was particularly vicious with the chairs, which I liked. It was a nice touch. He didn't really care how he threw them on Swagger. It all came down in the end to Swagger finding himself in the predicament of holding on, waiting for Alberto Del Rio to set up that stupid finishing move onto the chairs for the win. Del Rio retains. Now the match was alright. I mean, there was a couple of good spots, the ones I mentioned. Swagger going for the Patriot Lock with the chair, that was very, very cool, looked almost painful. Would have been more painful if he'd have been wrenching into the chair, not out of it, but I guess that's against the move. But all in all, it wasn't a bad match. Nothing special. Again, the build wasn't very good for these two, so we had less chance to get invested and care. And then it was all gimmicky all the way throughout, and then that finishing move takes all the wind out of the audience. It's awful because we're just sitting there twiddling our thumbs waiting for him to set it up. But the super kick, the cross arm bar, much better moves. Just stick to them, Del Rio, please. Cut. Then we moved on to the 8-man tables elimination tag team match, and this one was a mess. I mean, it did what it needed to do, right? It got the crowd popped. We got the ECW originals out. They brought out the tables with the names. Strowman's one was already left on the outside, which is very, very cool. Nice visual to set it up. One thing, Rowan's new mask transformation this week amounted to nothing. He was the first one eliminated, so that meant nothing. A couple of spots. Now, I know there was a few botches throughout the match where tables were breaking where they weren't supposed to be breaking, and I've heard a few complaints about this already. I'm recording this, nearly a day after the show was aired. And I've heard a few complaints about it, about how Michael Cole had to cover up and say there was this reason, that reason, why they didn't. Well, the rule has always been the rule. If you get put through a table, you're out. If you put yourself through a table, you're not out. That's always been the rule. I know a lot of people have been complaining about Strowman's foot going through and comparing it to the Big Show Cody Rhodes table match from a few years back, but Cody delivered the dropkick that put Big Show through the table. That's why Big Show was eliminated. This time, Strowman put his own foot through the table, there's no denying that, and when the table broke under Devon, it broke under Devon's weight. So those ones really didn't count, and you're just being pernickety for pointing that out. They don't know their own rules, obviously, that's nothing new, they make them up on the fly. But to me, that's why that happened. As it goes, Rhino got eliminated very, very early. Dreamer was next to follow by Harper. Then Devon went and came down to Bubba and the Three Whites. We got the Flaming Table Tease, which was, I love that moment. Again, I've heard some complaints that they didn't go through with it. Why tease if you're not going to? Because the tease was enough. Because we were lulled into a full sense of security going, he's going to do it, he's going to set the table up, who's he going to go for, which one's going to go through, is it going to be Harper, is it going to be Wyatt? And then Strowman comes out of nowhere, chokeslam for the win. Beautiful spot to end the match. Like, don't argue with that. That worked to perfection. Strowman didn't bugger it up for one thing. Was it a great match? No. It was a mess. Nobody really seemed to know what they were doing. Strowman especially was behind on his cues. He missed quite a few moves, not only the table spot, but punching Bubba Ray through the trash can on the outside. That was heavily delayed. Good match all in all, but it did what it needed to do. Bray Wyatt survived. Bray Wyatt looks strong as he moves on to whatever venture he's got lined up next year. Either way, he needed it. He needed to end this year on a high note, considering he spent the last 3 or 4 months floundering to Reigns and to Undertaker. So yeah, Bray Wyatt needed that and he got it. Fine by me. Did a little promo for the Royal Rumble, which is awesome. I like the new graphics. Seems to be a bit of a complaint out there, but I like the new graphics. It's kind of got that old school regality to it, you know, something circa 1999, 2000, which is very, very cool, but it's just something new and different. Not everything has to be 3D computerized, bold colours like they always do on their promos. It's just nice to see an old school, elegant Royal Rumble logo. So yeah, very, very cool. I liked it personally. Let me know what you think about the new logo. Do you like it? Do you think it's just an old throwback, or do you just think somebody's being lazy and coming up with a bad idea? Let me know in the comment section as always. Then we got on to the 5th match of the night, which was the Intercontinental Championship match between Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose. And what happened? I predicted this match as the show stealer. Kevin Owens comes out, he starts talking, he's a very good talker, there's no two ways about that. He starts saying, I eat popcorn and drink soda every day of my life. Owens, that's just feeding into the whole joke that you're a bigger guy. You're a fat bloke, essentially. Why mock that yourself? It's not really that smart. Either way, Dean Ambrose comes out to a big pop. They have a decent match, but not what I had expected from these two, and I'm almost disappointed. They're two of the best workers out there. They can tell a story like nobody else, and it just kind of felt a bit flat. There was no real emotion into the story, no real good spots. They weren't given enough time. You know, despite the ending, Dean Ambrose rolled up Kevin Owens for the win. First of all, wasn't a clean win. Let's be honest with you. That it was a straight up 1-2-3, but it wasn't a finisher pin combo. That was a sneaky combo, and Kevin Owens is going to have something to say about that. Dean Ambrose wasn't allowed to just go clean over Kevin Owens. But I've thought about it, and that was my first reaction. But I've thought about it, and I thought, well, Dean Ambrose wins the title. Kevin Owens frees up himself away from the championship picture for a potential big match at WrestleMania. And he doesn't have to be pinned straight up, lost to Dean Ambrose. He hasn't straight up lost a match, if I'm correct, since Cena. So maybe it was actually really, really smart booking. How they play it into the next couple of Raws, into the new year. I mean, Raw is already going to have aired by the time this video comes out. So maybe we'll already have an indication. But they really need to capitalise on this for both Dean and for Kevin Owens. The match was a bit lackluster, but the storyline to build off of it could be huge. So we're just going to have to keep our fingers crossed and hope they don't do the WWE thing and screw it up immediately. Also, one other thing, like when he actually won the belt, I thought it was very cool that he jumped into the fans, he went in head first, no disregard. I actually thought I don't know quite what happened, but with how long they allowed him to celebrate in the ring for, I almost expected some kind of screw job. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they gave him a lot of time to do the celebration for the title win. I know it's a title win, but are they just trying to make the Intercontinental title feel big? The fact that Ambrose won it in that moment is a big moment. I'm not all that sure. Just felt a bit weird, you know? Next, we had the penultimate match, which was the Divas Championship match. Charlotte, accompanied by Ric Flair, taking on the challenger Paige. Okay, it was a good match. Let's just not get that wrong. It was a good match. These two had a good match. They had good chemistry in the ring. They worked well together. They proved it at Survivor Series, and they proved it even more at TLC. The thing that gets me is the booking. Like, it's gone beyond whether they work well together or not. Who's the heel? That's the question everybody's asking right now. Who is the heel? To me, Charlotte is the heel. Paige has moved out of a heel role and into more of a tween stance. as I said in the prediction show, Charlotte, especially with tonight's win, has moved into full heel. But it's not really being explained why. I mean, she's coming out, she's doing all the Flair struts and the poses and the flops, and you know, she's now the dirtiest girl player in the game. She's her dad's clone, so much for forging her own path. I don't get it. I hope this is something Charlotte really feels stupid about, because I'm surprised they're going ahead with this. She spent so long being Charlotte and not Ashley Flair, and now they might as well just call her Ashley because she is pretty much a clone of her father. I don't like it one little bit. I predicted Becky Lynch would be involved in this match. She wasn't at all, not in one little bit. Ric Flair made the difference though. I didn't really talk about Ric in the prediction show because, well, I didn't expect how heavily Charlotte would go Flair. Ric got involved a couple of times, most notably of which was breaking up the cover after the Rampage. He also started loosening the turnbuckle, which Charlotte then capitalised on later on and used it to actually smash Paige into the buckle and roll her up for the win. We're going in the right direction with the Divas division, but I mean, I was fairly pleased with this match until I went back and watched the pre-show and went, actually no, they killed it. And then I remembered we're going to be getting Bayley and Nia Jax in a couple of days at TakeOver, and they're going to kill it as well. And just goes to show that the main roster Divas Championship match is still lackluster, and it's still second fiddle to whatever crazy harebrained scheme Vince McMahon has. It's a step in the right direction, but so far we are taking baby steps. It's going to be 2018 before we actually get a match we actually want to see. One thing I will say is, where does the Divas division go from here? Well, I think we're going to move away from Paige now. Becky and Charlotte are going to start a storyline, and I'm hoping it's going to end with Bayley being called up in the new year and a 4 horsewomen fatal 4-way match at WrestleMania. I can actually kind of see the seeds coming for that. They are making sure that Sasha gets involved, sticking their nose in PCB business, you know, such as the stupid cutaway gag where apparently Paige has an afro. That was really dumb, and it took away from the match. And I know they are trying to make Team Bad look like a female New Day, but not that much, alright? Just because it worked once doesn't mean it will work again. Authority. So then we moved on to our final match of the night, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship TLC match. And this one took a while to get started, didn't it? We were in a lose-lose situation here, because half the crowd didn't want Roman Reigns to win. That same half the crowd, plus more, didn't want Sheamus to win. Preferably, the outcome would have been Roman Reigns taking the belt. But he couldn't take the belt at this point, because it would just look so ridiculous from any standpoint. Whatever storyline you were then going to play with Roman going forward, if he won the belt at this point, everything last month was ridiculous, pointless, waste of everybody's time, and it would have been a backlash that they may not have been able to recover from. So the match itself wasn't spectacular at first. The spots started to pick up after Sheamus put Roman through the table with the white noise on the outside. Before that we had chants such as NXT, Daniel Bryan, We Want Cena. That was the first time I think I've ever heard that damn chant. It's still accompanied by the Cena Sucks chant, of course, but we're in Boston, so I guess hometown boy. I was actually half expecting him to make an appearance at the end, obviously he didn't. But the spots picked up after that point. We got a couple of good ones from both Roman and Sheamus. The Superman punch off the top of the ladder was spectacular. Alright, then nothing about that. That move looked so badass as Sheamus came flying off the ladder and straight through the table at the bottom. Very, very cool. Sheamus' skin also lends itself to the brutality of a match like this. He always looks so bruised and scarred up. Very, very cool. It's a great visual effect. It actually allows Sheamus to look like quite the beast while it looks like he's taken all this punishment and he's still kicking. When it came down to it, the League of Nations got involved. Roman was able to fight out. Sheamus bro-kicked him as he made his way back into the ring. Roman still tried to get back, but no. Sheamus took the belt down, and game over. Sheamus is still your WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Then it really started. After the final bell rung, the fun really started, and this is where they're going wrong. I mean, this next spot, I'm about to talk about it, is awesome. It was amazing. It's one of the best moments all damn year. But it happened after the final bell of the final main event of the final pay-per-view of 2015. You know? What happened? Sheamus spears the league. Then he goes completely postal with that chair on Sheamus, which was amazing. And we're starting to see the seeds in Roman Reigns. That anger, that frustration. That's what we want to see out of Roman. We don't want to see him goofy. We don't want to see him smiling. We want to see him be that Samoan badass. And that was only accentuated when Triple H came down to the ring, got himself in because he's stupid. Seriously, this guy is reeling. He is thriving right now. He's going to kick anybody's ass that gets in his way. And I'm Triple H. I'll get in the ring. Haw! Bad storyline telling. Very bad storyline telling. Regardless, it didn't matter because Roman Reigns proceeded to kick the living hell out of Triple H. We had the Banshee, known as Stephanie, screaming all the way through, which could have been not there and it would have been that much better. It hurts my ears. I thought Vicky Guerrero had come back for a moment. The whole powerbomb onto the table looked dangerous. The elbow drop following it looked awesome. It was the very, very last moment though, that very last moment where he walked away and then he turned around and he delivered the most brutal looking spear I've ever seen. Step aside, Goldberg, because Roman Reigns just showed you how to do a spear. It was beautiful. The crowd were behind him. Yes, yes, yes. Roman Reigns. Go, kill him. You know, it was that kind of mentality. And it was awesome to see. That is what Roman Reigns needs to be. He needs to be this badass. I'll repeat the very same line I said in the prediction show. He's a 6'6" militia gear wearing badass. Don't make him Daniel Bryan. I did say, make him John Cena. Tonight, they didn't do either of those things. They made him Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, the seeds have been planted. Like I said, we would have already had one Raw happen by the time this show goes out. So maybe we'll see some continuation. If the TV for the rest of this year is anything to go by, it will fall flat on its arse by the time the Rumble comes around, after all that 6 weeks worth of booking they have to find before the Rumble to keep this momentum going for Roman Reigns. The writing team only seem to be able to do 2 weeks at a time at this point, so that is tough for them. The only time they've actually managed to consistently book from one pay-per-view to another this year was Payback to Elimination Chamber to Money in the Bank. 2 weeks between them. So that was TLC, and it ended on a massive note. The crowd was pumped. I mean, at 4 AM here in the UK, when that finishes, you don't want to be that hyped up. But I guess that's what you should expect from a pay-per-view. Haven't felt this way after a pay-per-view since Mania. It's taken them all year to come all the way back round to get that kind of last moment level reaction. So, well done. Well done to them. All in all, I thought TLC wasn't a bad show at all. It was pretty lackluster throughout the middle. The matches from beginning to end were a bit slow and the main event took a while to get kicking. But they weren't bad matches by any stretch, but they suffered from a lack of booking, as everything else does in the WWE. That's nothing new. The final moment was amazing. Kalisto and Sin Cara especially were absolutely out of this world in the opener. So from beginning to end, not bad. Not bad at all. Not great, but in comparison to Survivor Series and excluding the Undertaker and Brock Lesnar match from Hell in a Cell, so all in all, good way to end the year. Hopefully we can start to build to the right level next year in 2016. We're going to give them a chance, cut it straight down the middle now. We'll book into the Rumble, then we'll see how the Rumble goes. The intriguing storyline, of course, is Roman Reigns. I actually saw seeds of a heel turn. Now, this may just be wishful thinking, but Ambrose, the Usos weren't there to help. Roman's frustrations would lead him through. Maybe it is the signs of kind of not a traditional heel turn, like he's going to turn on Ambrose and join the League of Nations. No, he's just going to become a lone wolf. He's just going to become a tough SOB. He's going to become a Stone Cold style character where he just hates everyone. He'll just wail on you for the fun of it, which could be a lot of fun. We'll see. Whatever happens, Roman Reigns cannot win the Royal Rumble. It's as simple as that. Ladies and gentlemen, my name has been the Ripper Danny B. This has been my TLC review show. Join me later on tonight for Takeover London's prediction show. I'll see you Friday for the Takeover London review show. As always, my friends, you take care of yourself. Watch the WWE.